So how good of a bass line can you play using only the 3 notes in a major chord? Let me show you something. Hi, I'm John Liebman. Welcome to another edition of The Essence of Groove. All right, we're all told, yes, practice your scales, practice your arpeggios, got to learn that stuff, got to know it. Yeah, that's true. It is important. You need to build your bass technique. Scales are important to know, not just for the technical part of it, but for the theory and understanding how all those notes work together. But a lot of times we're not told, or maybe you're not told, unless you follow me, and I do tell you, but a lot of times people don't know what they're supposed to do with all those notes. Practicing scales for the sake of scales, arpeggios for the sake of arpeggios, building technique for the sake of building technique. All that stuff is a means to an end. And that end is, of course, laying down a feel-good bass line. Or in the more global sense, making music, making good music that feels good. So let's say you're practicing your scales and you know your arpeggios and you're working on them and you've got them under your fingers. Good for you. That is important, like I said. Now, suppose you're playing a song and you know the chords, or you're reading a chord chart so you can see what the chords are. What if the song needs more than just laying down the roots? You know, like... Although there are times when that is preferable, that's desirable, that's what the song needs. But for the sake of this lesson here, let's say the song needs something else. It can be genuinely embellished by more stuff on the bass. So our example here is the major chord, major triad, which sounds like this. Familiar sound to all our ears, right? Now in this case, I'm playing an A major triad. So I'm playing the root of the chord, A, on the 5th fret of the E string with my 2nd finger. I'm playing the C sharp on the 4th fret of the A string with my 1st finger. And I'm playing the E, the 5th note of the scale, the 5th of the chord, with my pinky on the 7th fret of the A string. Okay, that's called a shape on the bass. Now the cool thing about the bass, as I'm always saying, is its awesome consistency. The bass has a symmetry that no other instrument has. It's tuned in fourths all the way up and down. Guitar is close, but not quite, because it's got that B string, a major 3rd. The bass is the only instrument where if you can play something anywhere on the bass, you can pretty much play it everywhere on the bass. So when you learn those shapes, this shape, for example, the one we're talking about, you can play that. You want to play a G chord? Want to play an E flat chord? Want to play an F sharp? It's the same shape. It sounds different, but your fingers move the same way. Now see what you can do. Here's my challenge for you. See how much you can come up with. See how creative you can be coming up with a bass line using nothing more than the 3 notes in each major chord. It's a wonderful kind of discipline because it forces you to be creative and to think. When you work with a narrower scope, you can't help but come up with other stuff. Play with the rhythms. That's an easy way to do it. Not an easy way, but it's a good way to do it. It will expand your groove vocabulary. So let's say we want to play something like, I don't know. Or, you could do all kinds of different styles. And again, like I said, play with the rhythms. You could start at different times too. You could do something like... And there's no end to how much you can come up with. Now, I want to show you a second fingering, a second shape that's going to come in very, very handy. Let's say we're playing a blues, for example. Now, when we get to this chord, the E chord, we could move up and play that same shape. Like I said, it'll work everywhere. And then come back down. It's not that much work, but there's another way you can do that. There's another fingering. Instead of playing that same shape, starting with our second finger, we can play those exact same notes, starting with our pinky on the 7th fret of the A string. The A string. So, and there's no shift. Even though this is a little shift, 0 is less than a little bit, so we don't have to shift at all. And that shape, of course, works everywhere on the bass, just like any other shape. Now, the only exceptions are if you have an open string as one of those 3 notes. Those are the only exceptions, so get the sound in your head, first of all. So that would be, and on the A string, or if you start on the 1st fret. So if there's an open string as any one of those 3 notes, those are the only exceptions. Everything else, exactly the same. Try it. Like I said, it's a great discipline. I remember hearing a story one time about one of my favorite saxophone players, Phil Woods. Great, great alto player. I saw him play years ago. He played actually the solo on Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are. That was like the only rock thing he did, or the first rock thing. He was a hardcore jazz player, awesome player. But I heard a story about him once that he was practicing soloing all within a fifth, which is just everything within that very narrow scope. And like I said earlier, it forces you to think. It forces you to be creative. I think it's a great exercise. But try this. Try seeing what you can come up with. Something that's good, not schlocky, something creative, something that works, something that makes the music feel good, using just the 3 notes in a major triad. And once you get that shape down, try it in the weird keys too. There are no weird keys. There are only familiar keys and unfamiliar keys. So play a blues in D flat, or play a blues in some key that you're not familiar with, G flat, whatever it is. And it just goes to show, like I keep saying, if you can play something anywhere, you can play something, you can play it everywhere. A lot of times there might be a singer, somebody sits in with the band, or maybe it's the singer in your band that can't do the song in E or in A or in the key that you know, so you have to play in a weird key. Well, now it's no longer weird. You can do it. You know the shape, you know the sound, you know what to do. All right, I think you've got enough to work on, but try it and let me know how you make out. Just, boy, John, that discipline of just those 3 notes. It's amazing how much you can come up with if you just narrow the scope and focus on that. Do that. Leave a comment. I want to hear from you, and I do look forward to hearing from you. Next week, we're going to talk about something very similar. We're going to do the same thing, only with the minor chords. Just as easy, just as much fun. So watch for that. I have got all kinds of tips and advice for learning bass, so be sure to subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Try this, let me know, look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you back here, same time, same place next week with another edition of The Essence of Groove. In the meantime, let's play bass.